Something special happens in the Pine City Library meeting room every Thursday. There's conversation.
That's not what it was for.
I know we were gonna get culinary tips from Dick Lindsay
From me,
today.
There's education.
Pump air in here and then open up.
Oh, I see.
And there's home-baked cookies, courtesy of Marjorie Strati Swanson.
That important fact, why I bring cookies. But it's very important.
The Pine City History Group got its start in 2012. Judy Shalene, a local historian, had just finished a book on the history of Baroon, a town a few miles north of Pine City.
And that was really interesting, and I thought, well, there's maybe some Pine City stories out there. So I decided to offer a meeting for anybody who was interested in local history. And Bayless Swanson and Dick Lindig showed up, and we sat and talked. I was not really sure where we were going to go with this, but they decided to come back the next week, and they each brought somebody with them. I thought we'd meet for about an hour each time and talk, and they would happily meet for 2 or 3 hours, and I learned I had to stop the meeting and kick them out, or they'd stay all day. And we met pretty steady. It was just a small group of about 6 guys. It was all old men. I'm not sure why this appealed to old men, but it did. It wasn't intended to be that way when we started.
I'm the only one that calls it the Old Men's Club. I think it's called a history group officially. But they were having so much fun that in a few months I joined them, and I haven't left.
Each member of the group is asked to participate in their own way, and the results, according to Marjorie, can be unexpected.
What happens is almost anything can happen. Often we start on a subject and talk about it, and pretty soon we're wandering off, and then we're wandering off again, and somebody says, what were we talking about in the first place?
And lots of times we start out with a topic, and then we deviate, and pretty soon we find ourselves down a totally different road than we started on. And that's fine. It's just interesting to see where it takes us.
Judy has pictures that she shows on the wall, and then we talk about those. They're historic things that have happened in Pine City, or buildings that are in Pine City. And we talk about those, and then sometimes we have show and tell, and somebody brings something really interesting and we pass it around.
So those are fun, interesting things. They lead to other discussions. It will trigger things that other people have, and they'll bring them in and share them. And so those are always interesting.
The man on the wall here is J. Adam Bede. I can read the name underneath.
Here's a picture of him.
My goodness, you must have good eyesight. Now that you see
And
it.
yesterday we had a big pan. It was a metal pan, and it was pretty rusty, but it was designed to be used on top of the furnace or the big stove in a rural school, because those wood stoves would dry the air out so bad you needed to add some humidity to the air. And then the children and the teacher found that they could put their lunches, they'd bring soup or chili or leftovers of some sort in a glass jar, and they could put that in that water bath, and by lunchtime then they had a hot lunch. So it was kind of the original hot lunch.
Judy has been wonderful. It wouldn't be anything without her. She knows more about Pine City than anybody in the world, and she didn't even grow up here.
I've got a lot of clippings, the newspapers that I've been photographing, the old Pine City papers. Then I clip them apart and file all the articles digitally. When we start to sort those things, the stories come out of that. A lot of the clippings, they used to put all the gossip in the newspaper, and so there'd be a column with just a sentence or two about so-and-so did this, or the creamery did this. On its own, it wasn't much information, but when you collect a whole bunch of those and arrange them chronologically, all of a sudden you have a story. And so a lot of the things that we've worked on have started out as somebody had a question, and we've just put the newspaper clippings together and come up with a cohesive story that told the answer to that question.
Marjorie said she feels the group strikes a good balance. It's about history, research, and learning. But it's about friendship too.
Several of us have been there almost since the beginning. And we're, I think, quite fond of each other. And I never ever schedule anything on Thursday afternoon other than this, if I can help it.
I've got 120.
Just want no more. Yeah, it's got 2 suits.
Big deal.
Oh, here's
That's
a,
it.
So stop by the Pine City Library some Thursday afternoon at about 1 o'clock and sit down for a while. You'll see some friendly faces.
Identify time, yes.
Yeah.
You might find out something new.
See if I've got some.
That picture could well be taken in the bank then.
But there's one thing they can guarantee.
But for vinegar and
There will be cookies. This is Mike Gaynor with the Pine City Pioneer.
What is this little thing for?
up air into the barrel.
Oh, okay, I see that now.